titled Virtual Screening, Friend or Foe, Film Festivals During the Pandemic. As people around the world have been learning to function through the COVID-19 pandemic, film festivals have had to confront and rapidly adjust to growing digitalization. This panel will focus on the need for film festival organizers to conceptualize, shape, initiate, and sustain a digital screening model and explore ways in which film festivals can simultaneously entertain their audiences and sustain staff, executive film professionals, and distributors as they prepare for the next phase of film festivals. To help us dive deeper into this discussion, it's my pleasure to introduce to you our panelists. So first off, we have Kerem Ayan, who is the director of the Istanbul Film Festival. Welcome, Kerem.
Hello, welcome. Thank you.
Second, we have Gaia Fuhrer, and I'm sorry about the pronunciation.
Perfect.
Yeah, the director of Film Days at the Venice Film Festival. Welcome, Gaia.
Thank you.
And finally, we have Maike Hohne, director at the kurzfilm Festival, Hamburg. Welcome, Maike.
Thank you.
All right, so I'd like to get started with you, Gaia. On your appointment as director of Film Days earlier in the year, of course, you know, the Film Days runs separately from the main kind of strand of the festival. You were quoted as saying that this year's edition of the festival is a golden opportunity to rethink the very role of film festivals and how they reach their audiences. And essentially, this is really what today's panel is all about. But what I would like to ask you is if you could speak to your experience this year on the ground in practical terms, how this opportunity or this golden opportunity, as you mentioned, translated for your festival.
Yes, sure. As you mentioned, I was appointed as new artistic director recently, after many years working for Giornate degli Autori, Venice Days. And it happened right in the middle of the global crisis, just early June.
Yeah.
So, which means that I spent the entire summer asking myself whether the festival was going to happen or not. And so it was a quite strange approach to my first edition, because we were really not able to predict anything. And the past experience for all the festivals, Kerem knows it very well, were so negative that we really were not able to just predict what was going to happen. But as you all know, Venice Film Festival did happen, it took place, and we were very fortunate. It happened because in September, the cases in Italy were the number of cases was very low. And so we approached the festival, to be honest, in a sort of miraculous mood. And we were just like the mood, the energy in Venice was very different from what I knew, and I've been working in Venice for almost 20 years. So I know that energy very well, and it was completely different. There was kindness, which is not something that we festival people are so familiar to, and so a sort of relaxed mood also, which is very weird. And so I feel grateful and fortunate. What we did is not enough. I mean, of course, there's a space for improvement, but we organized the screenings on site. Directors and most of the directors and actors were able to join us. There were two or three filmmakers who were not able to join us because at that time Chile, China, and Serbia were banned countries for Italy, and so unfortunately we didn't have the pleasure of welcoming our filmmakers, but almost anyone was able to join and be in Venice. It was quite, I mean, of course, we respected the safety measures in terms of mandatory masks, social distancing, anything. I mean, half capacity in the theater, but the festival took place in a traditional way. Venice Film Festival did a lot. What Venice Days did is not so much. I mean, the online could be will be improved in the future. What we did is that we schedule and stream all our films in competition on an Italian platform. But the problem is that as we present only world premieres, the geo block is very strong, and so only the Italian audience is allowed.
Right.
To, you know, which is a big problem of the online, according to me. And at least for the world premieres film festivals, because of course you can use the online. I'm sorry if I just jump right.
Not at all. Not at all.
Of the issue, but we can. The online is a sort of bonus track. You know, if we have a CD, for me, the online is a bonus track. It's a plus, and it's an incredible plus. All the things I love in film festivals simply don't exist online. So for me, it's crucial that the networking is in person. But the online can give us a lot. And but the world premiere status is quite tricky.
Right.
And so yes, I give. I want
no, it makes sense, okay. And I think also it really depends on which period of time in the year that your festival took place, and it depends, you know, also on the situation in your country. So I mean, you had the opportunity to have, you know, a part of your screenings like in person, and there were some restrictions and changes, as you mentioned. Kerem, can I ask you what was the situation for you in Istanbul and for this year's edition for you?
Well, the thing is, our festival is in April, so it was a very bad month. You know,
yeah, I can imagine.
We just came back from Berlin 2020, which happened. It was great. We were on the screening groups. Everybody was sick as usual in Berlin, because in winter time everybody is sick. They are coughing and sneezing, but everything was kind of normal. And then it became really bigger, and then the beginning at the end of March we realized that we couldn't do the festival, so we canceled the April edition. But then quickly we did the online edition. We started to do online. We went very quick. In Turkey we were the first ones to do online. Beginning of May we started to stream the festival films online. Like in May and June, we screened 15 films. It went great. At the time, they were locked down, so everybody was at home, and it went really, really wonderful. Everybody was so happy that they can see the films. By the way, with the geo-block thing, I think for us, it's really good. I mean, as we don't show world premieres, you know, only people from Turkey can see the films, and then, for example, people from Greece, if they want to see it, it has to be online in Greece by Thessaloniki or another festival. So we give the opportunity to the other festivals also to be able to screen the films. And then in July, the things were good. Then we did open air screenings in July. We did the national competition and short film competition in July. And then in September, again, we did online. Then in October, we did screenings in the screening rooms, you know, because we are showing around 150 movies. So it was spread all over these months. In October, we did screenings in 2 screening rooms. But as Gaia said, it was like safety measures, half full room and everything. It went okay. And then now in November, again, cases are growing up. Then we are going online, and it will go on again in December. And at the end of December, I hope we will be able to finish the 39th edition of the festival, which was, it lasted more or less 6 months. But people were very happy that they could see films every month like this, you know. It went the whole year. For us, it's a much more work to do, but on the other hand, it's nice. But of course, I'm missing the old-fashioned festivals, because
absolutely,
you know, you have to meet people and talk with people. We have guests and everything, and it's a pity I couldn't go to Venice, because it wasn't easy at that time from Turkey going to Venice and everything. So it's really difficult. Now, for example, Berlin wants to do the festival again. They just announced it that they are doing in February, but we will see what will happen, of course.
Yeah, I mean, these things are variable, you know, you never know what's going to happen. It changes week by week almost.
But summer festivals are a bit luckier, of course, you know, like Venice, it's the end of summer, which is very good. But even Cannes, we don't know what they will do this year because they are in May. But the French government, they will announce a 5 months program, so they will see if they will be able to do it or not.
Yeah. Can you imagine another year without Cannes? I mean, I can't even imagine another year without.
It's crazy, no? It's really crazy. Yeah. I mean, but I think if they can't do in May, they will do in another month, maybe more in summertime, and hopefully they say that all these things will finish by the winter 2022. But
they can want it. But if this will happen.
Yeah, Maike, I was going to come to you actually to ask you to share your experience, and also I have, you know, and if you could just tell us this, and then I'll move on to a question that I actually have specifically pertaining to, of course, your festival, which is a specialized festival. So if you could just let us know what your experience was.
Yeah, just quickly. Yeah, we all went to Berlin. Berlin was great. It was really the last one. I mean, they were so lucky. I was so happy for Carlo, as well as it was his first edition, and my ex-colleague Anna, who now runs the show, it's also her first edition, so they were all lucky. Then we went home. We immediately canceled the festival in March because we said what we don't want is an online edition. We want a festival in the cinemas, and you know, we have a special place for the festival, como sede, no, como located where we all meet and blah blah. Very big space. So we said, no, we want the cinema, and we try for November. We knew November would be late, but we thought because we have other festivals in the city, you know, it's not easy also what has happened this year, that all festivals go later. This makes a big mix in all our schedules, doesn't it? So, basically, then November came and we our government canceled everything. So the festival itself was canceled, the catalog is printed, everything is fine. But we had a beautiful summer, because as I run in the festival a section which is called Labs of the Presence, where we actually work with the short form, not in forms of competition, but in terms of dialogues. So we have different topics, and one was humor after Me Too. So we worked with the art association here in Hamburg and had a big exhibition. And we had 2 months where we used all the space for cinema screenings, for exhibition, for performance art, for, you know, like I'm lucky. We had the summer, I had kind of the festival in a different way. I experienced the art experience within the festival context in a very different way, which was great. And now we are, of course, rethinking the festival for next year, because I mean, we will go hybrid anyway.
Well, this is actually what I wanted to ask you. You know, for your festival, you know, because it's a specialized film festival focused primarily on shorts, right? You know, it's always funding sponsorship opportunities. These kinds of things are, of course, affected, and they're linked to your numbers of audiences in order to sustain, you know, any income that the festival might have. So what are your plans going forward, you know, for next year, and what do you feel is the biggest challenge, you know, to overcome in light of all of this?
Okay, for me, it's 2 things. One thing is we are very lucky. We are funded through the city and the government. So we need funding, of course, for all what is the program aspect, programmatic aspect, but still we get paid, kind of. So that part is fine. Still, the European Union media decided to change its focus a little. So almost all festivals working with short films have problems now. So we miss a big bunch of money, which is, I think, is a political issue we don't do today, as we said in the beginning. But what we are interested in, and I was about to ask you, Kerem, as well, what kind of experience you had, is, of course, the focus towards the audience. What is the challenge going hybrid, and, you know, like, how can we reach other people? Is this opportunity, yes or no? Because for me, the big problem, because our festival is in beginning of June, so everyone is out there, which is great for when we normally do our festival or the outdoor screenings, etc. pp. But sit down at home, you know, it's light, everything is lighted up till 11. Why should you sit down and watch short films online without meeting anyone? You know, so this will be our challenge to really, that's what I'm missing a lot. It's like we can do all content online. It's not the problem, but the problem is how to find the gaps in between the screenings, which we normally full with chattering and kissing and meeting and, you know, whatever comes. But what makes it full, you know, like which makes the experience of a festival full, which fills me up with ideas for the next years. So this is missing, and this is really we are still thinking of how to expand actually the idea of going online, how to interchange in different ways. So that's what we are working on at the moment.
Yeah.
Great. I agree sorry.
Yeah, please go on.
No, I agree that this is really the crucial issue. And I mean, going to a film festival is like going to the Mecca, you know? It's like a pilgrimage.
Yes.
For cinema, it's like a pilgrimage to cinema. And we all feel it. And I mean, maybe sometimes we forget it. And these exceptional times helped us to remind it, you know, to let us remind why we chose this word and why we are part of this community. And sometimes you just don't want to go, we are tired, we travel so much, and now you feel that you are part of a community, and when you lose the sense of community, this sense is incredibly powerful. And networking is inherent to our industry.
Yes, absolutely.
And of course you can put it online. Of course you can create online networking as master classes, streaming press conferences, and so on. But the energy is impossible to recreate the energy, and also it's impossible to recreate the randomness. You know?
Yeah, absolutely right.
And maybe I'm Italian, and so
I'm
more randomic than anyone else. But this sense of randomness is so important for me, at least in my personal experience and view. And with the online, everything is so scheduled, everything is so blocked. It starts at that time and it finishes at that time, and you lose control because you are under control. And so this is the thing I really miss the most, and the thing that I'm just overthinking, but there's not a solution. I just hope that this is an emergency time. It's an emergency time, and we have to take the advantages and to take the benefits of what the virtual film festivals, what we learned from the
this is actually a good segue to what I was going to speak to you guys about next, or rather the topic that I wanted to discuss with you, which is that if we place the non-screening elements aside, if we focus primarily on the screenings. So, and this question goes, to all of you, if you want to, jump in again based on your experience. And I know that Gaia, for you guys, your screenings were in person. Kerem, your screenings were some in person and some online, and so maybe you can discuss different kind of perspectives on this. But where do you feel the virtual screening, just the screening, falls on the scale in comparison to a live screening? Would you say that there are some unexpected positives to a virtual screening that maybe you wouldn't have thought of, or maybe that don't exist with a live screening? And I know that Gaia, you mentioned the virtual element is more like a bonus track, and for sure I think under normal circumstances, absolutely this is what it is. But how do you feel, guys, that where does the virtual screening fall on this scale in comparison to a live screening?
I was going to also tell about what Gaia said before, and then go to this virtual.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Which is she's completely right, I think, for me anyway, but we are from the industry. But on the other hand, the positive part of all these things is that Istanbul is a city of 18 million people. You know, it's huge, huge. And now with the online screenings, there are lots of people who can't go to the screenings. And now they have the opportunity to see the films. Of course, not in a screening room, but they can see. And especially the people who work, you know, they go to work from morning till evening. They miss lots of things. With the online screenings, for example, it's open for 5 days of the online screening. You know, when you buy a movie, you can watch it from that day to that day. They can find the time, I don't know, maybe late in the evening, and they don't have the exact, you know, timing of the movie. You know, for them, it's great. And Turkish people, I mean, we are Mediterranean also, and we are a bit lazy, you know. You buy ticket and then at the last moment, okay, I'm not going to this movie today. You know, you can do this, but when you're at home, it changes everything. And all the emails and the social media things that we have in return, it's great. And now people really, they want online screenings. I mean, if everything goes back to normal, and of course it will one day, I think we will go on for some time all these hybrid thing. You know, you do screenings in rooms and online screenings, I think. But as I said, I mean, it just gives more opportunity to the people to see the films. And of course, we are doing in Istanbul, like Gaia, you are doing in Venice, but all the rest of Italy, all the rest of Turkey can watch also, which is incredible. Normally you can't, you know, show the films to that much of people, which is, unfortunately, I don't like to see films in a small screen, even though now at home we have kind of big screens, but even though it's not a cinema screen. But at what I said, you know, the virtual screenings help with these kind of things, I think.
I think it is more inclusive, as you say, because we tried a few years back then with Berlinale, a hybrid model with, I think, a festival scope, and to screen some of the feature-length films meanwhile during the festival. It was very little access to these films. You know, we had some viewers, but it was not the moment. And I think now it is really, and it is for me also the inclusive moment to think that there are communities, that there are people who would love to go to the festival, but as you mentioned, or they work, or they cannot because they're ill, or whatever, or they wish to, but they are on travel and then they only come back. So there is an opportunity to involve more people. Mm-hmm. And that's something I really like about this possibility, which doesn't mean that I don't want my festival back, you know, but it just like, it has one more access that we didn't think through so much before. Also in like how to speak to these people, how to connect, how to make it sexy, to get to see these films at home on a smaller screen, but with an extended time of 5 days, why not? So I think this is something that doesn't destroy my idea of cinema, but extends its power.
Yes,
I think so too.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you're right. And I think also, and this kind of leads to my next point, which is how, you know, the actual physical lockdown that happened across the world saw this huge and dramatic spike in demands of, you know, demands of like online content and people watching Netflix and streaming platforms. And I think this was something that maybe you already addressed as well, Kerem, which is, you know, do we see a space for festivals within the scope of this spike, within this demand for online content?
This is a very interesting question because it leads back to the question that also, I'm coming back to Berlinale, but it's an older question. Rotterdam does it. The question if a festival is a VOD platform. And it was extensively discussed the last years, and it didn't really, it happens, but very little. I think now it will change.
Because of the urgency, because of the urgency of the situation.
The urgency, and also about the opportunity. Okay, now I know Istanbul Festival takes place middle of April. And so I know, okay, I understand that I'm going to see some of the films I really would love to see, or I don't know yet, only be there in this period of time. So it's not a VOD idea of it will be there forever, like with Netflix or the last 10 years, but I have this specific time slot. So I think this is something that we really can work with. And as you mentioned, Kerem, like to say, okay, and if, of course, the people from Greece Festival or Sarajevo, they should also experience this moment and have their money income through ticket sales. And this is interesting. Like a festival, yes, it's not VOD, but yes, it's VOD. Why not? And then you have the festival catalog online, which Netflix is interesting in terms of what they produce, not everything, but they work really, I mean, if they do animation, they really do a special focus on a certain kind of puppet animation that no one in the film funds does. So it's great to see it there. But for a festival to know, if I know now Berlinale will go online, I hope so, I will see. Then I knew all my forums film. I can watch them online, which super. With family in my bag, children, small puppets, you know, bam, bam. Wow, why not? For 1 year, next year I go back. But I think this is really an opportunity.
Yeah. Is the hybrid Gaia for you, is the hybrid model or any kind of, online component? I understand you were saying earlier that that's something that's going to be improved going forward for you guys. But is this a strategy that you're pursuing? And how would you speak to that specifically?
Yeah, sure. I agree with Maike saying that before it was not the time. Now it's the time, and so now the time's changed, and I think in the future festivals should be hybrid and merge online and offline activities. So combining on-site and virtual participation. It's impossible from now on to just change the direction. We cannot be just the old-fashioned. We miss the old-fashioned, but now we need a plus. And we discovered all the pros of just being virtual, and we cannot not forget them. And I agree with Kerem, and the main advantage is breaking through the geographical barriers, the geographical borders, and being inclusive. And he's right, and they are right. I mean, it's something that when you discover it, you just don't want to leave it. So I think we need to embrace the online, but just merge it, and just merge it with the on-site and
incorporate it, in a more serious and substantial way in the proper festival program.
Yes.
That's something that you did, Kerem, more or less this year, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So would you say going forward, are you going to continue to pursue this strategy going forward? Would you say that there are? Yeah,
definitely we'll do it. But the thing is, we of course we will show online movies, but I think the young generation, the new generation, they are very used to see films online because they are born in it. They know how to do it. We watch the films first in the screening rooms. This is the thing, but they can go easily online, the new generation, and forget the cinema. So we shouldn't do that also. We have to bring them also to the screening rooms, which is great, because when, for example, last year we did the Kubrick retrospective, you can find all the Kubrick movies online. It's easy now. You can find anything. But the thing is, it was completely sold out, which is wonderful. That means that people, they really want to see these films on big screen, they make a huge impact, of course, in big screen, which is wonderful. And we shouldn't forget to bring the young audience to the movie theaters, which is important. But the rest, I mean, even my mother now, she's used to watch films online. Before, she wouldn't do this, of course, but they learn. But there's another thing. I don't know, Gaia, maybe you didn't have this problem, but we did. For example, there are some movies, of course, they don't want to give their movies online, which is another problem. For example, in Istanbul, in October, we screened Nomadland, who won Venice, which is a great movie. But it's a Disney movie, so they didn't give of course, for online, because they will do it later, I think. But we only screened it in the screening room. So everybody was said, oh, how can you do it? Why you are not showing online? It's a disaster, na. But on the other hand, they said, okay, we show it in the screening room or we don't show it at all. So it's your choice. And it was, of course, full house and everything. It was really great. But there are also things like this, because even some film companies, they don't know how to deal with it yet. Now they are learning, but like Tenet, they push the release more and more and more. And the James Bond movie, that this is ready, but they are not going it. It's not easy also for the film companies, I think, all these situations.
This is interesting because we don't know how much content will come out this year.
Exactly.
As a next year. We don't know because it wasn't too much produced.
Yeah.
Very difficult. And then as you mentioned, the James Bond, I mean, it's bigger. We speak about the festival part, but what do we screen? Where can we screen? What about the cinemas? How can they survive? It's not easy. I mean, the small cinemas will survive as it is about groups and collectives and blah, blah, blah. But the middle-sized cinemas, and even the bigger, the Cinemax and Cinestars ones, difficult.
Now, I mean, in Turkey, the cinemas are closed. Is it like this in Italy
same
and
for
Berlin?
Germany, everything is closed.
Because
it is interesting here, we are closed because it is all cultural. It's all about spare time. And what we said in Germany is, hey, we are not spare time. We do cultural work. This is important to understand, it's not about leisure time, it's about cultural work. And if we don't do cultural work, especially in times like these, then we have a problem. Yes. I put one of the short films I really love, My Mother Learned Cinema, if you don't know, but it's from Turkey. It's a wonderful film.
I know.
Sorry, Gaia.
No, I agree with you. And in Italy, it happened the same thing. And we all signed this document. Yes. And I think we are all working, trying to get our government realizing that. But it's so difficult and complicated, also being in their shoes. And so I don't know, here they close cinemas, theaters on end of October, and they should reopen them beginning of December, but I'm not, I'm not very positive about that. I don't think they will do that. But shops are open in Rome because Italy, I don't know if you know that, but it has been divided into three different zones, 3 different areas: red, orange, and yellow. There are many jokes in Italy about that. We are hundreds of jokes. Red, and so Rome is yellow. And for example, and so Rome is quite free. It's like Rossellini. Rome is quite open, and Milan is red. Wow. And so in Milan, you really can go. Actually, you can do anything. And in Rome, it's quite a normal. I mean, of course, we wear masks, but it's quite a normal life. And of course, we don't have theaters, cinemas, and we cannot go to restaurants in the evenings. And we can go out until 10 p.m. I mean, it's not a normal life, but compared to Milan and the red zones in Italy, we are much more free.
It's interesting that you mentioned, and I believe cinemas are closed now in Germany, and they're closed in Italy as well. Here in the UAE, the cinemas closed, I think, for about maybe 30, 45 days, and they're open. They've been open since. And I actually watched Tenet in the cinema. But watching Tenet or watching a film in the cinema now is a bizarre experience because
here we go.
You're sitting there. Personally, I wasn't comfortable enough to take off my mask. They have spaces between seats. So, you sit and then there's two seats that are free and then somebody else sits and so on. But it's just the collective experience of watching a film is now different because, before maybe you wouldn't notice if someone coughed, but now you kind of notice. There's like a, you know, you just kind of notice it. You start to notice these things, and it's very difficult to immerse yourself in what you're seeing in the screen, because, you know, you're just kind of sitting on the edge of your chair the whole time, not because of anything you're watching on the screen, but because of the surroundings. And of course, you know, and this was me watching it in an IMAX theater, so, you know, the space was huge. So if you can imagine how different it is in a smaller space, you know, so even, and they tried here in the UAE, they did, there was like a drive-through cinema experience in a parking lot with like a big, there was like a big screen, and it was like kind of like a drive-in, you know, the old style drive-in cinemas, you know, so there was a lot of, there's a lot of experimentation in terms of trying to find solutions to screen these films. And of course, a lot of the distributors have delayed their releases repeatedly in order to, you know, try and engage as much audience as possible. And some of them have resorted to online releases, like, you know, you can see on Apple TV, they do a lot of these, you know, releases of like The King of Staten Island, the Judd Apatow film, for example, was released online, and there was a number of other films that were released online. So I think, you know, people are kind of confused with what to do, you know, even from a distribution standpoint as well.
The point is, I think that for the content, we agree, we will find ways to present the content, but the random moments, that is what I'm waiting for. When do we have random moments again? Huh? When do we stand outside of the cinema? When do we meet the people? I mean, but this is, I mean, we cannot change it at the moment. It's the way it is. So it's really about how to rethink communications, how to rethink spread ideas, how to rethink getting inspired. I think this is also part of the game at the moment, really, how to manage the situation also in, I don't know, Kerem, how you did it, but it is powerful experience what you just said, that you almost worked 6 months with the festival, which means you worked throughout the whole year without a break, kind of, and now you're going to produce your next festival, which will happen in April, so you're in the middle of everything.
I don't think it will be in April. I think we will postpone at one point, I think, but we will see.
But still, you are working.
Yeah.
No?
But the thing is, we all the festival directors in general, we were thrown in this situation. Yes. We are not used to do these kind of things. You know, we weren't thinking of online at all. You know, for us, it wasn't an issue before.
No.
So suddenly we have to think and what to do, what can we do, how can we bring films to people, and all these things happened suddenly. So yeah, that's why. Sorry,
so
Yazan.
If I could just move, if I could just ask you guys about the business component. Of course, the film market is, you know, one of the primary functions of a film festival, and that I would assume with the online, you know, takes a massive kind of hit because it depends a lot on networking and physical interaction and these kinds of things. So if you could speak to this, you know, kind of element, the market element of a film, and how that has been affected, you know, not just from a distribution standpoint, but also from a film festival standpoint. How do you feel about this?
So I don't know who goes.
No, I can start, but I know very little about that because I mean, here we don't have. I mean, Venice Film Festival has the market, but I'm not connected to it. I don't work for that. And Giornate degli Autori, Venice Days doesn't have the market. And so my experience is just it's not direct. But of course, maybe the distributors are the ones that have been affected the most. What Kerem was saying about James Bond and anything. I mean, talking about the distributors of big films, I think that it's really a disaster. It's really a disaster. When Kerem, before you asked me if we had experience of having films. No, we didn't, because we only show independent films, you know, we only first features, second features, yes, well-known directors, but not Disney, not anything like that, not Netflix. So we didn't have that experience, and we didn't have the negative experience, but I think they are struggling they are struggling. I mean, the big films distributors. As for the independent and film festival films and companies, it's quite, I think the labs are going very well. Torino Film Lab is going very well. The works in progress are going very well. And I think all of us, we are attending works in progress online. And of course, it's not the same because of all the reasons we have just said, but it's possible. It's possible to have one-to-one meetings. It's possible to talk about projects. And so I don't think that this will affect in a terrible way those moments, yes, and the industry. The problem is bigger, and it's related to the big films that don't rely only on film festivals, but on the theatrical release.
Yeah, definitely. Because as Gaia said, as we watch mainly independent movies, I think the markets are okay because, for example, I wasn't in Venice, but I watched lots of Venice movies at home from Festival Scope, whatever. And if I'm interested in one movie, I can contact somebody easily. We know all these things, how it goes. And unfortunately, as festival programmers, we are used to watch films in very bad conditions from our internet, you know, with like a logo in the middle of the, you know, film. We are used to that. So at that thing, you know, it's okay. I mean, it's more or less like before. But for the big companies, it's of course a huge problem. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really more about the last step in the chain, no? The distributors, as you mentioned, and the cinemas. How will you address viewers to come to the cinema to watch James Bond with 3 people in the cinema or 10?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Does it really make sense, you know? And it doesn't make sense, at least in the logic of capitalistic thinking. For the other thing, you know, like for this kind of management of big films, but also for the smaller art house films, to bring them besides the fest. So that's where we jump in with the festival world. No, we become more important because for small art house films, like my forum films, for example, very difficult to be distributed now. It was difficult before to get, you know, cinemas in Germany for these small films. But now, Olanda is such a film, for example, beautiful 3.5-hour film about people in Romania looking for pilze, for mushrooms. You know, it sounds whatever. It's an incredible cinematic experience, but 3.5 hours. So what do? You forget about it. You need the festivals, or you don't have your movie being seen. So that's where we jump in with the hybrid moments and etc. pp. Still, if I had a cinema, what can I do now? And that's where the government has to jump in and really support the people. I mean, if not, these middle, as I said, like this middle-sized cinema and the bigger ones, of course, in their logic, will not survive. I don't see it.
Yeah, I think that one of the, I mean, talking about the independent films and not about the major ones, I think the biggest problem is to how we can recreate the buzz. How can we recreate the buzz online? I mean, could Parasite have won the Oscar, the Oscar without first building
the
buzz on the festival circuit? And this is something I don't have an answer. I don't know how we can, because the buzz is important. And I really don't know if we are able to recreate it online. Maybe yes, I don't know. But this is something that is crucial to me, for me.
Yeah, absolutely. You're super right. The buzz comes with the moments when you meet people and when you talk. Did you see? No, I didn't. Ah, yes, you think, blah, blah, blah. Who said so? Blah, blah, blah. But all this is, of course, but I guess the vaccination will come and show up still, then we will have had this kind of experience for at least 2 years. And the question is, where do we go afterwards? Now, how do we combine our experiences. Because people then also understood, in the negative way, could say, yeah, okay, so I don't have to go to Istanbul Film Festival, it comes to me. So you will also miss people in terms of people that you'd like to have for your bus, or, you know, and also for the juries. I mean, on the one hand, it's great that for panels and juries, we can invite people from all over, and, you know, rethinking the green aspect of film festivals, which is also important. And we were just starting, you know, like it was just evolving, and now it stopped us, made us all go digital. We all sit at home now. You know, we didn't go to Shasha, which is a pity, but for green aspect, of course, it's super. Still, we won't meet any one of the people who are watching or will watch this panel later on, which is a pity. So it is also, it's all combined, but I guess something will come out in terms of to really find kind of a balance in how many people do we have to bring, how much of a panel can we work like the way we are doing it now, how much do we have to reconcentrate on our local audiences.
One thing that I wanted, and this is something that I thought about when you mentioned earlier, Maike, about submissions, and with regards to the limitations in the amount of, you know, productions that are happening this year. And do you believe, guys, that this will have a profound effect, or what size of effect do you think it's going to have on your submissions for the festivals next year? Because if people haven't made that many films this year, you know, for example, I was going to direct my own short film, and of course I can't do that now because it's impossible. You know, I'm Jordanian, and so I was going to shoot in Jordan, and I had funds and I had, you know, equipment and everything lined up in Jordan, but now in Jordan we have 8,000 cases a day, so it's impossible to do it there. So, you know, how do you think submissions will be affected? And not just from a short film perspective, but even from feature films.
Feature films is the problem.
Because there are also some films that are waiting, you know. There are some films that they didn't apply to Cannes, they didn't apply to Venice, they're waiting for next year in case they can, you know. There are also some films that we are waiting for. So I think for next year, it will be more or less okay, you know. I think so. I don't know what do you think, Maike and Gaia, but
I agree with you. I agree with you.
There are some big films, especially big films, that are waiting the right moment. So I think if, of course, the situation evolves and it goes better, whatever. But the thing is, I think at one point we will find a way to adapt our festivals to what's happening in the world. But the thing is, I think the bigger question is that, are we going to start to treat the world better? You know, this is the big problem, because if we don't change our way to operate, you know, it will go worse and worse, you know, and we saw it, you know. We saw when we were in lockdown at home at the beginning in, I don't know, April, whatever, March, April, we suddenly saw that the world is going so much better without us, you know, with only nature and whatever. So we are harming everything, and it will go on like this if we don't change the way, not in cinema, in our life. So the thing is like this, you know, we have to see what we will do. I mean, I'm thinking but all the governments will do maybe nothing. But by the way, maybe it will go on like this right after the virus. While we were waiting for another virus, things will go normally. I don't know. I'm a bit pessimistic about this. I mean, I'm not pessimistic about us, you know, we can adapt, but I'm pessimistic about how we will treat the world, and you know, it's really a pity.
You're right, but even if you think about, I don't know if I'm able to say it properly, sustainability. If you think about sustainability, we also can change something. For example, we travel too much. I miss travel a lot, but we can travel less. I mean, the online, the virtuality taught us that we can travel less. We don't need to be everywhere. We just we need to meet each other. We need the bus. But not being everywhere. And so in this, I mean, it can help the world. It can help.
Definitely, you're right.
So they should listen to us
Yes, they should. Yeah,
I
absolutely.
hope so.
Absolutely. Maike, I'd just like to conclude with you regarding the submissions and how you feel short film submissions are going to be affected for you, because again, you know, short films are you know, the lifespan of a short film is basically the festival run, you know, and
which
more
can
or less
last forever, or 2 years. Oh, we have My Mother Learns Cinema again, which is at least 13 years old, I guess. No, but I agree. I know that there are films still waiting because last year was problematic, but I guess we will feel it, because at least in Germany, with the films that got funding, and then if you get funding, then you have to do it the regular way. You know, you have to really play after the rules. So there will be less films. I guess there will be less films, and but still, I already watched some new films, and they are so super. I am inspired, so I'm fine. I'm fine. It will be another great edition. There are always films. I mean, that is the good thing, no? That we all know that people, as you said, Kerem, that we adapt and we change, and then we do different, and we rethink our making. So that's good. And yes, I think I agree. We all travel too much. I had a lot of discussion at home during all the years. Alice know very well. And I always said, yeah, but we have to go, and it's about supporting. And I think it's really about rethinking, okay, does it make sense for 2 days, or will I need a week? I need a week. Can I do a week with my family, with the rest of my work? Is it possible? And then, you know, like rather go for a week instead of the 2 days that really don't make too much sense. If I fly along, you know, far away or so, I go to Brazil for 2 days. Does it make sense?
No, it doesn't.
It does.
Or you come to Sharjah for 2 days.
No, I do that. I love it. I'd have loved to come, but I'm happy that I mean, that I went on the page to watch some films of Sharjah Film Fund now, and some were geo-blocked. I couldn't watch,
Right.
So that was good.
Yeah.
And I thought, yeah, okay, good. I like that. I mean, I think this idea of exclusivity, this is something that we have to maintain as well in all the hybrid format. You know, if you remember going to a party and you cannot go in because there's such a line, you know, that's what we need. That's what we need, because then you create an online bus kind of. Oh, I couldn't get this movie. You know, it was sold out. I love this. In the beginning of Corona, there were these pictures. I think it was Cine du Réel in Paris. Sold out. And I said to my colleagues, people, sold out in the internet. That's great. You know, it's something.
Yeah, it's
impossible.
it's like we want to get into something that's exclusive. That,
yes,
you know,
of course. I mean, that's absolutely what we want. We want the red carpet kind of, you know, differently.
You're right.
Yeah. So, you know, I think we've covered all the points that we wanted to, and I really appreciate that all of you brought so much your experience and your personal experience, which is varied, of course, on the types of festivals that you work with, and hopefully we will see each other on the red carpet in Sharjah next year at the film platform, but hopefully before that as well. It was a real pleasure. Thank you so much, Kerem. Thank you, Maike. Thank you, Gaia.
Thank you so much for
time.
inviting. Yes.
It was truly a pleasure to talk to all of you. And for those of you at home, thank you so much for watching. Please stay tuned for there's 2 more talks tomorrow. I think more talks tomorrow, and some more screenings as well. Please have a look at the Sharjah Film Platform website. Thank you so much once again. Have a lovely day wherever you are in the world, and see you soon.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.